Hello and thanks for stopping by my channel. My name's Chris. This is KGS Photo. Today's video is going to just be focused on some photo editing in Lightroom, and more specifically photos that I've shot in the last year and a half in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington State. When it comes to Lightroom, I do pretty much 90% of my editing in Lightroom. I bring in all my raw, turn it into digital negatives, and then bring it into Lightroom and start working from there. Don't really use Photoshop too much for landscape photos. Let me go over, I guess, 2, 3, 4 photos from my different various Pacific Northwest trips that I went on recently. Ones that came out pretty nice with what I shot, and then how the final edit came out. I'll show you the before and afters, and then take one of the photo copies and go through a quick little edit. For photo example number 1, we're going to go to Cape Meares Peninsula in Oregon on the coast. And Cape Meares is pretty impressive. This is Cape Meares in Oregon on the coast. I think it was Short Beach. A little hard to find, but you have to do a little research on Google Maps and read some trail hiking suggestions, and this will get you to this beach. You go down a huge wooden staircase, get you to the rocky beach. Luckily, the weather was clearing out. We had lots of heavy clouds overhead, so we had a lot of, and it was earlier in the morning, so we had some good sunshine coming through the cliff sides and the valleys, beaming down onto the beach. Let's take a look at this photo in the develop module. Once we're there, this is the final edit, and that's the pre-edit. So you got what was shot raw on the camera, and then the final edit. And obviously, I had to do lens correction, and not too much else, but lens correction, different coloring, warming up the color temp, also brought up some of the highlights in the hillside here and the greens, and brought up some of the shadows in the background. Just gave it more of a misty sunshine through the fog type of look. And that's your before and after, half and half. So before and after, so you don't have to keep picturing it in your head. After, before. But yeah, you can definitely see a lot more brightening up of the cliffside, color temps, making it a little warmer in the sky, bringing out the blue a little bit more through the clouds. Back to this view, let's do a quick edit of it. So that's what I came up with a little over a year ago when we were there in my edit. Let's take a nice fresh file, and I mean, stages I do, the first thing I always do, getting rid of chromatic aberration and using my camera lens profile so I can get rid of that distortion. And then, depending if I want a cooler temperature scene or a warmer temperature scene, this one I think needs warmer because of the sunshine through the clouds and the fog coming over the cliffside, the mountains. So, bring it up to 6200. That might be good. Don't think I need to mess around with the tint. I always just click on auto, because with the newest versions of Lightroom, auto gets you a good starting base with your editing. I don't really use presets. I probably should make presets of my own, since I always seem to kind of edit to the same specific things I like, depending on the type of time of day and type of landscape I'm shooting, but I start with auto. I'm lazy, I guess, I don't know, but always do auto. I always bring up my texture a little bit, do the clarity a little bit more. Dehazing, I don't think I need to darken it, maybe a little bit. Dehazing, just a smidge. My horizon seems fine, for the love of God. Make sure your horizon lines are pretty straight, unless you're going for that off-kilter look, a Dutch angle, they would call it in film. And then messing around with my blacks and my whites and my shadows and my highlights. I want it to be a little dark. And I want to bring down that highlight. And then maybe bring up the shadows a little bit. I don't think I need to mess with the highlights. This isn't really showing me anything too dark. Just a little bit of dark in there, but nothing bad. Not terrible. And then, if you have a messy sensor, dirty sensor, like most cameras will become very dirty, especially if you're going out landscape shooting. The most time-consuming thing to do with editing, I find, is going through your sky, especially if you have a lot of sky, and looking for artifacts. Whether it's birds you don't want, hair on the sensor, something on the lens, anything like that. But this, I guess my camera was pretty clean. This must have been early in the trip. Oop, we got a bird. No, actually it looks like a bee. Let's get rid of that, clone it out. Bye. Don't need to see you. What else? I don't see anything else weird with this up. So that's getting closer. So now let's look at the one I edited about a year ago and spent more time on. A little darker, blacks. This is a little brighter. Ooh. Darker. This is the one right now. Not too much. We can do some masks. Do a radial mask if you want. Oh, build it out here. Whoop. Want to brighten up on the edge where that sunlight's coming through the little valley. Warm that up. Maybe bring up... Ooh, don't want to bring it up too much because you don't want it to be like this. Because obviously, that's terrible. Just a little bit. Maybe the whites. Ooh. Yeah, not so bad. Maybe even warm it up. So more sunshine gold coming through there. Not terrible. Yeah, not terrible. Get off of that. Then we'll make another mask. And this time, we'll make a new mask. We're going to select the sky, which is a very nice option in the new Lightroom. This is Lightroom Classic. It'll select the sky. It's usually pretty spot on. You just got to wait a minute. Okay, it's not... It's missing a little bit up here. It's blending over there, but I don't want to do anything too drastic. What I really want to do is bring down black a little bit, maybe brighten up the whites. I don't think we need a little more highlight. And then maybe give it a little tint if you want to go nuts. Give it a little yellow kiss to the clouds. Dehazing? That's going to brighten it up too much. This might darken it too much. Yeah, that's fine. Click out of that. I mean, that's really it with this photo. I don't think you need to go too nuts. That's from a year and change ago. This is now, the sky, meh. So once you get through that, then I fiddle around with the coloring, the saturation, that is. I don't need to go too nuts. Get a little too fake. Maybe bring up the green, so those greens here in the foreground pop a bit better. Bring up that blue for a little bit of sky. Luminance. I don't know if we need to mess too much with that. Yeah, I don't think so. This one probably doesn't need that. And then the old sharpening. Get that loop. Pick out something. Don't want to go too crazy with that. Don't really need to mess with that too much. Don't need a vignette added to this. I think that's good for this shot. I try to do my shooting so that it comes out pretty close to what I'm expecting. Maybe, yeah, just hoping that your exposure is pretty spot on. I've talked about it in the past, and you can see all my options. I shoot in bracketing, so I can always get an exposure that I want, and then an exposure high and low. And if you really have to, you can HDR merge them. So that's this one. This photo from Cape Mears in Oregon. Early morning light. not too much to work, well, not too much needed to do to make this photo stand out. So that's what we just cut or edited right now. This is from a year ago. I think I still like my year ago one better, but you can definitely see. Let's move on to another location, another photo. Okay, let's take a look at a second photo. This one is from Cannon Beach in Oregon. Cannon Beach at sunset. There's not too much to work needed done on sunset shots or sunrise shots if you expose well enough and you get the effect that you're looking for to capture. But in this shot, sunset at Cannon Beach, some of the sea stacks in the distance, not the haystack, the famous one, but the before, that's the raw in-camera shot. This is the edited shot. Not too much done. Again, bring up some of the shadows. Maybe bring up a little bit of the highlights. And there was mist, sea fog in this shot too, so working with that if you do the old side by side. So got the edited shot. So it's more of a brightening up of the photo in general. And even the unedited photo seems pretty fine to me. I just like to have it a little brighter. So let's take an exposure. I did not edit and do a quick beginning edit. Again, I start my editing. Whoop. Getting rid of the chromatic aberration and putting on my profile correction for the lens. You can also do the manual stuff if you're getting weird fringing on the sharp edges, the shadow and the light, but this isn't giving me any weird colors or anything like that. And then as far as color temp, I might want to warm this up a bit so it feels more intense of a sunset, like what it felt like when I was there, what it looked like in my brain through my eyes, because camera can only capture so much. So let's warm this up to 5600. Is that too much? Yeah, I think so. I do like making all my photos warmer than they should be. 54. Okay, whatever. Let's auto this buddy. Ooh. And then Lightroom sometimes with harsh light and vivid colors, the auto is kind of terrible. Sometimes I feel it makes it almost too painterly, maybe I would say, but ooh. Yeah, I don't know. Well, let me fix that horizon first, as best as I can manage. That looks good to me. I don't think there's any cropping we need to do. Bring up the texture, if you want to really bring up the texture, but we don't want to make it too sharp. Clarity? Yeah, we don't want to make it too clear. So your blacks. Don't know if I want to make the blacks anything brighter than that. My whites, we're going to keep that lower. Highlight, might bring up the highlight a bit. Just so that sunset hidden behind that sea stack is really burning the edges in color around this guy. And then our shadows, I think we want to keep it pretty dark. Contrast feels all right. I don't think there's a need for dehazing. The vibrance has been auto-corrected. The saturation came down a little bit with the auto. Now our coloring. Do we want to... Yeah, we don't want that. You don't need to add too much. Since I'm shooting straight into a sunset, you get lots of good color. And there's really no blues or greens. There's nothing else to really bring out. Luminance. Yeah, you don't really want to... actually, maybe. Oh, look at me. Oh, you can bring down the yellow. Make a little darker. No, actually, who knows? You know, it's all personal preference. It's all taste. Take the picture as best as you can when you're out in the field. I like to, like I said before, I like to shoot in brackets. So if I screw up a little bit on my setting that I feel is the right exposure, going low and high around my exposure gives me leeway, stuff to work with, or I can blend, make an HDR, which sometimes doesn't really work. But Yeah, I don't think it's too much more needed with that. I don't feel like I need to do any mask layering because I don't want to brighten up the foreground. The sunlight, your light source is hidden behind this. Why would this be any brighter? Sharpening in the details. I don't feel like it needs something. Not too much noise reduction, anything like that. Our histogram seems fine. Nothing's peaking anywhere. This one's pretty much done, I think. So this is the edit we just did. This is my edit from a year and change ago. No, I went a little oranger and yellow. Oranger, that's a word, I swear it. More orange, more yellow. This one's a little softer now. I think I like my new edit better than the old one. And that's how it's going to be. You know, you get back from a trip or you get back from a shoot, you edit in the first week or two since you took the photo, and in your mind's eye, it looks one way, and then you edit it, and that's what you end up with. And if you go back a year later, like I am right now, I think I like the new edit better. Huh. Look at that. Okay. Yeah, I like the new edit better. This example is going to be, I think we're going to do an HDR, just to show you how I end up doing that. So, shooting Madison Falls at Olympic National Park, inside Olympic National Park. This was from Washington State. This was maybe half a year ago. So, springtime. So, the problem with the photos of the waterfall, Madison Falls, is it's in a gorge. It was in the afternoon, and the sunlight was just blowing out the top of the falls and the water, because the water reflects all that sunlight. And then I'm down in the gorge, so I'm in the dark. And what do you do? So I shot in brackets, maybe bracketing of 5, I can't even remember. But had a bracket because I felt like if I just tried to straight edit this photo, Lightroom or Photoshop just wouldn't be able to bring down how bright the water was and bring up the dark details of the gorge. So let's find a photo here to work with. Yeah, it looks like I did brackets of 5. Now I know because I'm looking at 5 exposure clumps. All right. What's this guy? Let's take a look at this one. See how bright and blown out that is? I mean, ultimately my exposure that I wanted, that I set for, was in this range. I'm getting such highlights on that water. I was also using a pretty dark neutral density filter so that I could shoot with a long exposure. As you can see, some of these exposures are 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 1.6 seconds, blah, blah, blah. So they're long exposures. I wanted that water to be ribbon-esque. I wanted it to be flowing and looking like a magical horse tail, something. I just wanted it to blend. The problem again is the intense sunlight on the top of this fall, and then I'm in a dark, creepy chasm, and it's blacked out. So, I actually didn't edit this photo at all. At least this batch of photos. It doesn't look like I had edited one, but here's one that's finished. HDR'd. So, before and after. That's the before, and that's the after. Before and after. That's using HDR, so that was taking probably 3 to 5 of these photos and merging them through the HDR program that's attached to Lightroom, then bringing it out and fine-tuning it so it's not too ridiculous. I mean, it is a little painterly, but then again, I'm shooting a very slow shutter and I'm blending 5 photos, so I wanted it to be, you know, fantasy land type of look. So, again, that is before and after. The water definitely looks pretty good. This is your side-by-side, so this is probably the main exposure photo. This is my HDR blend. So let's just start from scratch with these guys that I never worked with for whatever reason. So let's take 5 of them. And I'm not even going to edit down anything. This was all I was shooting on a tripod, so everything should be as steady as it could be. And I was shooting, like I said, with a dark neutral density filter. So 2, 3, 4, 5. We take these 5 photos, right click, photo merge, HDR. Let the computer do its math. Let's see what we get. Figure your deghosting is showing me my different movements. I don't think I need to worry about it. Let's just go to none. Let's go to none and move on. So let's merge this baby. So this will be 5 photos merging. Hopefully it spits it out in this line here. Sometimes it puts it out on the end of my photo line, which is thousands of photos away because I never break up my catalogs, which I know you're supposed to and you should, but whatever. This works for me. Leave me alone. Oop. Alright, we got a new one. This little guy here says, whoop, says HDR. Double click, bring it up. Okay, well, now we're getting a little bit better. We're still kind of hot, actually very hot, I feel, in the water on the top of this waterfall, and the downstairs is pretty dark still, and it's pretty sharp. We're merging 5 photos together, and with the wind blowing. So, again, get rid of aberration, correct the lens. I don't know if we need to get too warm with this. Maybe, let's see, 5,000? We didn't type the right number. 5,000. Yeah, okay. Makes the green pop a little more. The sunlight hitting the top is nice and bright. Well, I don't want to auto correct because right now it's being corrected for the HDR, so I don't want to mess all that up. But what I do want to do is bring down the highlight in general. That brings that water down. Nothing else seems to be getting hit too bad. Mostly the water and that green moss on the side of the rocks. Shadows definitely need to come up a bit. Let's max it out and see what happens. White? Yeah, we gotta bring that down too. The water's still pretty hot. We can go in with a mask brush and paint that in a sec. Let's see about the blacks. Oop, a little bit. Check the histogram. I'm not getting anything too bad. Let's fiddle with the texture. Do we want it to be really sharp? I don't know about that. Clarity, yeah. Yeah, we don't want to go too high with that. We want to keep that waterfall smooth and ribbon-like. Ooh, colors, colors, colors. A little bit of yellow. A little bit of orange, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of green. Maybe. I'm sorry, this is luminance. I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh, that works actually too. Whatever. Let's go to saturation. Do we want to do that? No. Green. More green. Take away the green. Add the green. I think we need a lot of green. Okay. Yeah, sharpening. I think we're good there. All right, let's paint. Let's paint. Let's get a brush. Let's brush this mother. Yeah, the brush is big enough, I think. Just do a quick. It'll show up what you're painting with that red. I don't think we need to go lower than that. Okay. Now, let's just drop the white down and see. You can tell, you don't want to go too overboard bringing down the bright white and highlights because it's going to look pretty dumb. Ooh, yeah, like that's too dark. We need it to be bright up top a little bit. A little bit. Shadows. Maybe a little. Blacks. Maybe a little also. So, I mean, making the best of what you can when you're shooting into very bright and your, majority of your shot is in the dark, in the shadows. Yeah, it's pretty much as good as you're going to do without going overboard with layers and masks over and over again. But, yeah, it's better than what it was. I feel. I hope you feel so too. So if I look at this shot, we have it highlighted before, after, before, and after. So you definitely get more to the shot. As in the regular exposure, blown out, too dark. I'm sure if I wasn't using a dark filter, it'd be a little easier, but then I wouldn't be able to blend that water, especially at the top. It was so bright, the water would definitely not be a long shutter. So, not too bad, I think. Again, this was Madison Falls and Olympic National Park, Washington. This photo will be from Deception Pass, out on Fidalgo, Whidbey Island in Washington State. Over to the develop module. So this is morning, sunrise, down below Deception Pass Bridge, the main, well, I think this is the main bridge, one more beyond this island over here. But giant, big, chunky, gorgeous rocks, the reflection of the sunshine, the sunrise coming over, great stuff to work with. This shot, if you want to see the before and after, that's the before. That's the after. So again, I told you, I like making my stuff, the temperature of my photos warmer, especially when I'm shooting sunsets and sunrises. I'm going to warm it up because that's when I'm there taking the picture. And this might be different from you. You might feel different when you're in a sunrise or sunset shot. You might want to have a different feel or a different color temp. I want everything to have a warmer feel to it, especially sunrises and sunsets. So warmed it up. Because the camera definitely was not reading with auto white balance. I wasn't adjusting manually. It was not reading that sunrise well. It was kind of keeping everything colder, kind of boring. So, Deception Pass photo, before and after. Go to the side-by-side. Before and after. So, again, warm up the sky, warm up all the color temps. And definitely bringing out that sunlight and the color in the rocks. Let's take one of the Deception Pass photos and try editing it right here, right now. So let's see. What do we want? We want to try this guy. He seems good. My first steps. Corrections. I'm going to warm this up. Let's go to 6,000, see what happens. 6,000. Do the auto. Okay, it's not good. It's not terrible, but it's not good. Brighten this up a little bit. Bring the exposure up. I want the sunshine glistening off of these rocks, these wet rocks. And let's fix this horizon line a bit. Tripod was a little lopsided in those rocks. So, no issues with sky artifacts or birds. The last few photos I showed you didn't really have any either. And power lines, can't do much with that. There is something weird here. See this little weird faint line? Or am I seeing things? I think let's make this a lot smaller. Might have been a bird flying by. I was shooting at almost a full second. This is a half a second. Almost. Power lines, blah, 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 blah. Sky. Looks good. Okay, let's move on. Texture. Well, I want these rocks to really be crisp and sharp because, well, when I was there, it felt like that and it looked like that. So I'm bringing up clarity is a thing. It always makes stuff look good, but then sometimes, or most of the time, everything's a little too sharp and a little too unrealistic. My eyes aren't that good. So bring up the texture a bit more than the clarity. At least that's what I'm doing. And then fiddle around with the black, whites, shadows, and highlights. I want to keep the shadows because it is harsh light coming from over this this cliffside and the forest, the trees. Bring down the highlights. I think I'm going to bring up shadows. Oh, bring it down. Getting better, getting better. Highlights. I want that sky not to wash out. Check the histogram. It's giving me a little bit of a highlight, but I want that. I want a hot spot. It's going to be hot spots on the rocks. And the dark stuff, I'm not seeing much of anything. So that's good. Okay, Saturation? Sure. Let's pour in the orange. Let's make those wet rocks really shine up. Yellow? A little bit. And we got some good color in the cliffside trees and vegetation. Green? Yeah, I felt like... Yeah. I always grab these colors, even with luminance. Grab it and drag it all the way to 100 and see what happens. Work my way backwards. Because... Oh, now let's do aqua. Not so much. Nothing there. Oh, blue. It'd be nice if the sky was that blue, but it's pretty fake. And this, again, I was shooting with an ND filter, but not super, super heavy-duty dark. So, I think we're pretty good there. Maybe sharpen it up a little bit. Bring down those edges of the sharpness. You want a vignette? Why not? Let's vignette this thing. Oh, it's so mysterious, this vignetting. No, too dark. Keep it round, keep it feathered. I think we're pretty good here. Let's do a before and after, right? So this is our edit. Sweet God! Much better. Now, you know, okay, well this is more realistic. Okay, it is. But it's photography. It's art. It's your art. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're taking a picture of. You want it to look a certain way, well, make it look a certain way. Capture it in camera the way you want it to be. And then fix it in post. So, yeah, not too bad. Now let's compare this one to the one I edited 6-7 months ago. Just like we did in the first photo way back when. Okay, I almost cut it the same way. I'm video editing. I do that for a living. I keep saying cutting. It's pretty much the same. I did not use vignetting in the original version. Yeah, okay, so I had the same taste. Granted, this one's only a couple, 3 months, 6 months older compared to the one that's a year. Thank you for watching this video, and if you made it all the way through the end of watching me edit and yap about Lightroom, thank you for sticking around for the whole time. Maybe you learned something. I'm still learning Lightroom. I always find something new from somebody. Tips. I still could learn a lot more about the shortcuts, but it works for me. It's fine. I'll spend more time editing the way I like. It's enjoyable. But, again, thanks for taking a chance and clicking on the video. Hopefully you stuck around and learned something with my photo editing of Pacific Northwest photos from the last 1.5 years or so. And you know, here's my YouTube page. Click the like button, subscribe, hit the bell. I don't have videos coming out too regularly, but at least 1 or 2 a month. And they'll all be about my photography adventures, what I know about photography, what I've learned about photography, and hopefully something I can divulge unto you, and you will learn something also as well. Thanks again, and just get out there and shoot something.